Hello and welcome to K-12 TV, produced by the Minnesota Department of Education. My name is Alice Seagren. Thank you for joining us today. Happy birthday, Minnesota. On May 11th, Minnesota kicked off a year-long celebration to commemorate 150 years of statehood. The Minnesota Sesquicentennial Celebration will provide many interesting opportunities throughout the year to learn about the history of our great state. Today, we have in our first segment a guest, Jane Leonard, who has been the executive director of the Sesquicentennial Committee. And we're going to talk to Jane a little bit about some of the activities that have been going on and some of the things that are going to happen in the future here in Minnesota, because we're not done celebrating.
No, we're not.
So, Jane, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the Sesquicentennial, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the things that are going on.
Sure. Well, I am a native Minnesotan, was born here, and have loved Minnesota all my life. And when I knew that the Sesquicentennial was coming, I was actually working with a group called Minnesota Rural Partners, and so we did work all over the state, and I knew that it was important to get the state involved, and I saw that there was a committee and found out more about it, and then they wanted to get an executive director, and I applied and got the job.
That's great. So, well, and I know you've been very busy because I've attended some of your meetings, and there was a lot of planning that goes into an event like this. And of course, it's not just one event, it's been many events. So talk to us, first of all, about some of the things that led up to the big celebration days, actually, that we had.
The whole week.
Yeah, the whole week. And tell us a little bit about that, and then we can talk about some of the things that are going to be coming up for families, for kids, for adults all over the state.
Sure. Yeah, the commission itself was authorized in 2005 by the legislature. They came together as a commission in 2006, actually in May, and then hired staff by the start of 2007. So we really started planning in earnest in early 2007, and that's when we tried to gather all the state agencies and other partners involved. And we were looking at Statehood Week, and it's a funny thing because May 11th this year, as people know, was Mother's Day, and it was the fishing opener. Mm-hmm. So the committee worked long and hard to figure out how are we going to accommodate all of that, and we decided to have a whole week that started on May 11th, Statehood Day, and then went all the way through. And it actually worked out quite well because we were able to then incorporate capitals for a day throughout that week so that we could spread the celebration around Minnesota and then come back to the state capitol as the legislature was finishing its work and celebrate all together, including first day issue stamp ceremony. The wagon train that many people were able to see came in actually on Statehood Day. That was part of the kickoff. All of those came together, and as you say, there were hundreds of people involved, maybe even thousands, really, when you think about it, putting all those pieces together. And the commission really helped coordinate all of that.
So Statehood Day on May 11th, we had a kind of a smaller celebration with the wagon train, with some speeches by the governor and some of our elected officials.
Yep.
And then that next weekend, we had lots of booths and display tables and things. And of course, our education booth was there.
Yep.
But we also had flyovers of some of the vintage airplanes, and that was really fascinating.
That was, and you know, that was historic. That's the largest flyover ever in Minnesota. There was one just a year ago for the Veterans dedication, and that was 22 planes, and we had over almost 30 planes for the flyover on the 17th of this year, and people were just great putting that together. The Vietnam Veterans Charity Association put that together, and there were planes from 1931 all the way up to the present day.
Well, it was really just a wonderful display, and it was so exciting to see all of that. And actually, it was really fun that weekend, too, because actually the legislature was kind of ending its business, and so it all kind of brought all the history of everything and all the process of becoming a state, and you could see the state in action right at the Capitol with the legislature, you know, finishing, making its laws for the New Year's, and so it really was a very exciting event. And of course, then the very last night we had the fantastic fireworks. And And the big culmination.
The big ceremony, yeah. And you know, people ask me, why are you doing this while the session is still going? And we said, well, that's what statehood's about.
Yeah.
Is, you know, people coming together to help guide our state, and people were able to see the legislators in action. The Capitol had an open house both of those weekends, and it was really nice to see legislators come down and eat and have ice cream and see the flyover, and then be able to go back and do their work.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to have a little video of some of the events that happened during those days.
Great.
And of course, education was part of that. We had in our booth, we had a robotics demonstration, because we have a lot of students that are really engaged in STEM. Number of things. We had a radio-controlled robot. We also have Minnesota books, too, that are by Minnesota authors, which we wanted to also show. And we have some pictures of, or some examples of some of the artists that have written books here in Minnesota. Just want to display a few of those. The Florist's Daughter. This one really looks interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And that was the great thing about that weekend, was we really were able to showcase so many of the state agencies. Your department, the Department of Natural Resources, had a booth with a lot of interactive activities for kids. We had the Secretary of State's, and the importance of the Declaration of Independence that was at the History Center. It just was a great way to help people see the importance of statehood, that we are a part of a great country, and people decided 150 years ago to do that, and we honor that today.
Well, and we have, you know, from Bob Dylan to Charles Lindbergh to authors that, you know, are taking the stage in their skills. You know, we just have so much Post-it notes being developed here.
The bunt pan.
The bunt pan, yes. Oh, the famous bunt pan. How can we not forget the famous bunt pan?
Yeah.
So lots of great things.
Yeah, and in fact, people can see a lot of those things at the Minnesota History Center at the MN 150 exhibit, which is on display now, and we'll be there all year, and in fact, the next couple of years.
Okay.
So,
and so tell us now, this is the, also, there's going to be continual events too.
Yes, right.
So.
We don't want people to think it's over.
Yeah.
Because we had such a great time. But definitely we are going to be featuring, in fact, the capitals for a day and the regions that they represent throughout the next couple of months. And I think that's important for a lot of your listeners to know, because we're trying to teach people about Minnesota. And each of those capitals represented a unique natural area in Minnesota, like the...
well, tell us first. Name the capitals,
we'll name them.
And the biomes.
Sure, the biomes.
Tell us about
yes.
that.
Yeah. The first capital we went to was Bemidji, and that represents the coniferous forest, which covers all of northeastern Minnesota and stretches almost down to the Twin Cities area. Then we went to Thief River Falls, which covers the tall grass aspen parklands, and that's a relatively new biome, but it's always been there. But it's unique because that was the area covered by glacial Lake Agassiz, so it has unique plants and animal life. And then Detroit Lakes represented the deciduous forest, which stretches from southeast all the way up to northwest. And then New Ulm was the prairie, going to our western borders. And then we had the driftless area, which technically isn't a biome, it's a geological area, but it's unique, and that was represented by Winona. It's the only part of Minnesota that wasn't covered by a glacier, which is why you have that beautiful bluff country. Sure. So those were all featured. And then each month now, beginning in June, July, August, and September, we're going to feature those regions and the capitals for a day, so that people can learn more about everything that's happening in those regions, and including educational activities, the parks, the historic sites. We really wanted people to take this year to learn as much as they could about our state's history, what we're doing now, and think about the future. Now,
Jane, I really love Fort Snelling. That's close to my home, and we go there quite a bit. Are there going to be events at Fort Snelling, or how can people, if they are going, let's say, up to Lake Itasca State Park, how can they find out if there are events going on for their children or for things that they're interested in?
Well, the best place to go is our website, www.mn150years.org, and that really can help you see everything that's happening. And on that site is an events calendar that features every single event that's been registered with us.